are used to produce other things. So investment, in other ways, investment is actually a postponement of current consumption. Right? It is a postponement of current consumption. So investment, you are talking about buying something or spending your money on something that you will not consume directly or immediately. You are spending money on some goods or services to produce other goods that you will consume. So what does it mean? It actually means that you are postponing your consumption, right? Yeah, because you are buying something that is not for immediate consumption. You are buying something that you want to use to produce goods that you will consume in the future. So some people say this is capital accumulation. What is capital? What is capital? What is capital? Is something that you want to have to produce, right? To produce something. So when you are saying ndiribe capital, what do you mean? You mean you don't have the resources to do something, not to eat. You don't say ndiribe capital, you mean and yet you mean kuti ndiribe ndalama zokagulira ndalama zokagulira chakudya. Do we mean that in our local language, in our everyday Malawian life? When we say ndiribe capital, sitinena kuti I don't have money to go and buy ufa. Is it? No. So even ourselves, wherever we stay, we tend to mean by the saying ndiribe capital, we mean we don't have the means to produce something, to make something. Okay? You don't have capital to do a business, and to do a business means what? So all those, so you can see why investment, which is spending on something that you will use to produce something that you will consume in the future. And remember what I said. This thing about in the future does not mean 2 years or 1 year. It can mean anything. It can be just a few hours. It's possible. You spend something on something that is only for you to produce goods and services that you consume later in the future. So they are there to give you a flow. They will give you a stream of goods and services. So you buy something, spend money on something, that something will give you a flow of goods and services. Goods and services will keep coming out of that thing. That's what investment is all about. And that is why there are theories that tell you that for you to grow, so for example, if you look at the Harold Duma model, of production. Basically, you are referring to GDPs, because you are talking about production of goods and services, production functions that we discussed. So the Harold Duma model is emphasizing on capital formation, that your production will grow bigger and bigger if you have capital formation, investment on capital goods. Some people emphasize on technology. So investment is an accumulation of capital goods. Capital goods are not consumption goods. Capital goods are the goods that you use to produce other goods and services. So it's, some people say investment, for example, real investment is an addition to the stock of physical capital. So for example, physical capital, meaning machines, tractors. So if you are investing in farming, for example, you are buying a tractor, you are buying a hoe. That real investment, you are building a warehouse. The reason you are doing that is that these things will help you produce goods and services that you will eat or you will use. So it can be physical capital, for example. Okay? Like tractors. So you can have capital goods such as machines, buildings, equipment, tools like hoes and wheelbarrows, and so you sometimes when you say, oh, we are investing, sometimes you are using the word investment as a general term, but all what you mean is that you are buying new plant or new equipment, you are buying new machinery, or you are replacing what has broken up or worn down. Sometimes you buy new equipment not because you don't have equipment, but because maybe you want to change your production function. Remember, in the long run, you can change your capacity. In the short run, your capacity is specified. So you have a machinery that can only produce 1,000 bags of cement a day, and that's your technological capacity limitations. And in the short run, that is fixed. But in the long run, you can change. You can invest in new technology, for example, a machine that is faster, has a higher capacity. So you can invest in capacity, improvements as well. Now, sometimes what you have in stock is also considered as an investment. So any raw materials, the things that you have bought to produce, to give you a flow of goods and services, the things that you have bought so that you can use them to produce. So an example is raw materials. You may have fertilizers in your warehouse. You may have raw materials of different types, for example, if you are in manufacturing. So the inventory sometimes can be looked at as an investment. Only if those things in your stock, in your warehouse, are things that you will use to produce other things. Then they qualify to be an investment. Don't confuse with something that you bought. You bought mandazi yesterday, a lot of them, and then you didn't finish them. Some of them were are still in your storeroom. That stock, that inventory is not investment, because this mandazi is. I have never seen somebody using mandazi to produce something else. Maybe if I've given you a bad example, tell me. Do you use mandazi to produce something else? Is it possible? Maybe. Maybe. Huh? So akakarambiri, akasarako, or even let's say sanasari. Can you crush them and make something else? Can you use them as raw material? Come on. That's consumption. That is consumption. Okay? And you remember, we talked about consumption, the difference between consumption spending and total consumption. You remember, we discussed that when we were introducing the concept of consumption. Consumption spending today is not as the same as total consumption today. Because sometimes what you have bought today to consume, some of it has been left over. Or what you have consumed today, some of it is what you bought 2 days ago. Munagura cabbage 2 days ago, ndiye munango durako half. Mwadya. Your expenditure on vegetables was let's say 500 kwacha. But actually what you used was only 250. So consumption, spending, and total consumption are not the same things. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so the issue of stock as part of an investment, you guys who are doing business, is it management or administration program? I'm sure in other courses you discuss the value of why companies keep inventories, why companies keep stock, for example. You do, in your, those who are doing BBA. Okay? One good example is what? Why do companies usually maintain stock and make sure that stock management is at its best? Stock management principles. Why? One simple reason is what? Why do you need, why stock should never run out? Christopher, it seems as if you want to say something. You can help him, Justin. Help him. Help him what he wants to say.
Okay, yeah, it's like we want to make it's an investment, remember. So like the thing is, they're keeping it for future use. So that when there'll be good rising, when goods will rise,
the main reason why you should always have something in stock, you should have something more than what you need. The reason you accumulate stock is because you have used less sometimes, or you have ordered more than what you need per day. Okay? So the most important thing is that should there be an expected rise in demand? Agreed? If there is an expected increase in demand, you should be able to go to your warehouse and pick more things and produce and meet the demand. You don't have to order. Is that reason really good to hear, or you think I'm just crazy? Yeah, that's the reason. So raw materials have to be held in sufficient quantities to allow production to take place smoothly. That's true. Secondly, holding stock enables companies to meet an expected increase in demand. Demand for what? For the things that they are producing, right? And sometimes you buy and hold things in stock for what reason? Come on, remember the theory of demand. What determines demand?
Price.
Go on. Price. So why should you keep things in stock? Why should you have more raw materials than you need?
Price.
Yes, you stock up. Yeah, one good reason. So sometimes people who are in production and they need raw materials, if they hear prices might be going up, they will stock more than necessary. Okay? And vice versa. They may stock below their need just because they think prices will go down. They can buy tomorrow. Okay? So you see how the issues of a market, demand and supply, I've always said that you guys, if you want to be good economists, you should understand the concept of demand and supply to the bone. This should be very, very, very clear. All the applications of demand and supply, because in everyday life, any situation, whether you are working at a church or you are working at an NGO, wherever you are working, if you understand the principles of demand and supply, you'll be able to make decisions. You'll be able to be a good manager if these principles are very clear in your mind. Okay? Now, it's foregone. I told you it's a foregone consumption. There is an opportunity cost, because when you are spending on things that you want to use to produce other things, it means you have decided not to buy what you can eat. It's a foregone consumption, because we are saying that you are buying something that you will use to produce other things. You are buying something that will give you a flow of goods and services in future. So what have you done? You have made a decision not to spend on something that you can use today or something that you can eat today. So what does it mean? It means there is an opportunity cost there. You could have used that money to enjoy it today. And you have decided not to. You have decided to buy something which you cannot use, you cannot eat. But you are sure it will give you a flow of goods and services which you will eat or enjoy later. That's what you have done. So the concept of opportunity cost comes in. So So for example, if you borrow the money to buy these things, if you borrow the funds to spend on this, to invest, or to spend on these capital goods, goods that are used to produce other things. So if you are not borrowing, it could be that you are inviting others to invest in your company, to bring in money. How is that done? You guys are in first year, right? Or second year, right? I think some of you will be meeting in another course I teach, which is corporate financing, where we're talking about, sorry? I think maybe you will do it the other semester, right? You must have seen in your program some of these courses that you might take. And there's a course called corporate financing, where we discuss issues of equity financing and debt financing. Sorry? That's my baby. Corporate financing. I don't read. Huh? You unapozira hiyo. Ndio huyo so so why are you asking? Oh, Sizi Mavek, right? Sizi Mavek mwina ndio wavera chisoni ranzako, right? Okay, so these opportunity costs when you are dealing with monies, it's either you spend it on something else that you can eat and use, or you spend it on something that you can use later. So if you are investing, for example, what do you expect in return? Yeah, you are expecting profits, right? A return on your investment. That represents the opportunity cost. Okay? If you are borrowing, for example, if you are the recipient, you are borrowing, it will cost you, and that cost is the interest rate. Okay? But cost of borrowing sometimes is not just the interest rates. So let's leave that for another day. And those are the things that we are discussing with Mr. Clement Yassini in corporate financing. I don't know whether he remembers how to calculate the cost of debt. Okay? Because it's not straightforward, the interest that is at the bank. Okay, so business investment can be in tools, machinery, equipment, and other production facilitators, so to speak. Okay, what facilitates the process of producing? Because you are talking about investment being an expenditure on something that will produce goods and services for you. So what are we talking about? That's why we're talking about machinery, blah, 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 blah. So business investment basically is about that. But you can also have investment which is referred to, for example, as in residential investment. This is an expenditure that goes on to what? Business investment, we said it refers to expenditure on capital goods that you will use to produce other goods. But you can also have, apart from business investment, you can also have residential investments. Residential investments refer to what? Expenditure on, yeah, on buildings, for example, on houses, dwelling houses, apartments, okay? This can be either for your own consumption or to generate services that you are being paid for. Remember, capital goods are goods that you have invested in to produce a flow of goods and services. Goods and services. So a service can be accommodation, for example. Accommodation is a service. You build a house, and that house gives you a service to you or to others. So it's a residential investment can actually generate services for you. It may not be generating mandazis. It might be generating service. It's accommodating you or others. So it's an investment that is generating service. Remember, generating goods and or services. It's a capital investment. And the third one is inventory investment. So we're talking about the types of investment that you can think of. It can be business investment, it can be residential investment, it can be inventory investment, basically stocking up on raw materials. And I have said, if in your inventory, in your storeroom, there is mandazi, that is not an item of consideration, because it will not be used to generate other services. But if in your warehouse there is a packet of fertilizer, yes, because you will not eat fertilizer, you use it to produce. So that's the concept of investment. So there are other investments that can be characterized as autonomous investment and induced investment. Autonomous investment is independent of your income. That's why it's called autonomous investment. So, for example, investment in houses, roads, public undertakings, and other type of economic infrastructure, such as power, transport, and communication. It's nothing to do with your levels of income. So it depends more on technology, population growth, than on the level of income. Remember, we are not talking about just you. We are talking about anybody who can invest. Businesses, we have talked about business investment. We have talked about residential investment. We have talked about inventory investment. We are not linking it up to who is doing it. So don't be confused. Okay? But what was very important is that we had this thing, and we are talking about, we already talked about this. So we're talking about the investment. This can be private sector, it can be government as well. Okay? Consumption, government, consumption, private sector. This can be anybody. So autonomous investment doesn't depend on somebody's income, be it government or individuals. But also remember, we said that you can borrow, right? So it makes sense that it doesn't depend on income, because you can borrow, or you can allow others to join you. You can raise capital by dividing up the ownership of the company. If you are 100% owner of a company and the company is valued at 100 million kwacha, you can say, Akur, this company, I want to invite you to be part owner of this company. This company is worth so much. You can sell half of that ownership and raise additional capital. So that instead of you owning 100%, you say, okay, 100% represent 100 million. Some guy come in, bring in your 50 million. So we will have 50-50. That 50 million will be new monies into the company. Okay? So how you generate money resources. So now that particular business will have new monies that can now be used to grow the business, to expand the business. Mind you, when we say this company is valued at 100 million, we don't mean that it has 100 million in the bank. No. It can be the brand name worth that much. It can be buildings, you know. So it's not money like as money when you are valuing the value of a company. So when we say, okay, the value of this company is 100 million, please don't ever think that it has 100 million. So if we are saying, let's make sure that another person comes in to bring the other half, this person can bring in the actual cash. Okay, so the other one is what we said, induced investment, which depends on income. Induced investment depends on income, unlike autonomous investment. I said investment can be in two types, autonomous or induced investment. Autonomous does not depend on your income, does not depend on income. Induced. Huh? Induce. I've mentioned it in Chicheva, right? Induce. Maybe induce. I'm sure Muzungu sanga jite pronounce choncho, right? Anganene kuti induce. Huh? Okay, so induced investment depends on income. So an increase in national income, for example, will lead into induced investment. Okay, an increase in Y will lead to a higher I. Okay. Now, I am looking at how many things we need to cover in this course outline. Because this course, this investment, this discussion is a long one about investment. We have said, for example, in just investment, we have said that if Y increases, you are likely to have an induced investment. Investment is likely to go up, okay? And that can lead us to temptation to start making a lot of calculations, okay? So we can look at investment and how it relates to the return on investment, okay? How people decide. You remember we talked about opportunity cost. So if you are investing, you are expecting something in return. So how does investment and rate of return relate to each other? So issues of rate of interest, for example, we may need to find some formulas and start calculating those things. Now, my comment was, should we go that route? We will spend more time on investment. So it depends on what I would recommend. I don't know whether it's for those who want to dig more into this. Follow the notes that I gave you and see if they are difficult. If you want to go deeper into calculating rate of returns and things like that, maybe you can get in touch with me, or if there's a general consensus in the class that we should do into deriving these relationships more, then I could choose to do that. Okay? What I was thinking was those who want to go deeper can do that on their own, and we just go to the next topics on the course outline. What do you prefer? Do you prefer doing more on each topic to covering more areas? Cover less areas and do more, or cover more areas? What would you prefer? For those of you who have seen the course outline, you will agree with me. We have only 3-4 weeks to go. Because around November 10th, Pastor Sia, mupita kuchani, ku 1 week holiday before the exams. So basically we have not more than 4 weeks to go. Which means we will meet maybe 4 times Pastor Terabompo. Then you look at the course outline, it's into some mbili. So, sorry? Oh, come on. No. You need to come out of this course kuli mapuzira zina zake. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, maybe. I think so. Ha, iwe. Oh, you have a Zoom? That time it was because Papa, it's very do kambira na bano. It's not worth recording. We are going to need so